Welcome to the first panel of our Cyber Trends 2024 series. I'm Lisa Easterly, President and CEO of Cyber Center of Excellence, or CCOE. We are a San Diego-based nonprofit that mobilizes businesses, academia, and government to grow the regional cyber economy and create a more secure digital community for all. So cybersecurity is now everyone's business. The FBI reports more than 120% increase in cybercrime across all industries in the last 5 years. That's totaling $27.6 billion in losses. And the global cost of a data breach has now climbed over $4.4 million, according to the Ponemon Institute. More than half of these costly attacks are aimed at small and medium-sized businesses. That's our region's economic engine. So now pair that with the global shortage of cyber professionals to thwart these attacks to the tune of about 570,000 openings in the US, about 7,500 here in San Diego. And it really becomes mission critical to address this systemic risk. Well, the good news is San Diego is leading the charge with more than 1,000 cyber firms and the Navy's Information Warfare Systems Command, or NAVWAR. This cluster accounts for more than 26,000 jobs and has a total economic impact of $4 billion annually. That's equal to hosting 24 Comic-Cons for all you fellow Marvel fans out there. This collaborative ecosystem is developing new technologies, defenses, and the cyber warriors needed to combat the ever-evolving threat landscape. So let's tap into this robust expertise with our esteemed panel today to talk about the evolving cyber threats, requirements, and also available resources. So it's my pleasure to welcome our panel. Francisco, why don't we start with you with introductions?
I'm Francisco Perez. I'm the CISO for the San Diego County Water Authority. I spent the last 23 years in the public sector. Prior to that, I was in the private sector working for a Microsoft consulting firm, and then got my start off at Qualcomm. The last 22 years, I was working with the San Diego County District Attorney's Office, and within that umbrella, I got to spend time at a high-tech task force called CATCH. And it was a really enjoyable job where I was able to be part of the IT operations and security, but also I was able to go on scene and perform forensic investigations. So it's always enjoyable to be part of the solution, not the problem. And then I headed back to corporate at the DA's office, and I headed up the cyber division where I built it up from the ground up. And along that journey, it was a fun ride, a lot of lessons learned. And while I enjoyed law enforcement and the prosecution setting, I was ready for a new challenge. And that's when I moved over to the San Diego County Water Authority.
Awesome. We see that, Cape Francisco. Amy, speaking of Cape Crusaders, Amy, we'll pass it to you next.
Hi, thanks, Lisa. My name is Amy Poling. I am a special agent with the FBI and have been for the last 24 years. I specialize in cyber intrusion investigations, both for-profit criminal cyber activity as well as nation-state activity, with nation-state being kind of my specialty. I've been here in San Diego for a little over 10 years. Prior to that, I was in San Francisco and overseas, all working for the FBI. And prior to that, I was a software engineer for a cleared defense contractor. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, we're delighted to have you. And then Tom, we'll head to you next.
I'm Tom Powledge. I'm the Senior Vice President of the Cybersecurity Unit at Verimatrix. We're a mobile application security provider. I've been doing cybersecurity for about 28 years now at companies like Symantec, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Cisco. In addition to my role as on the vendor side, I'm also on the board of directors of American Business Bank, which is a community bank in Los Angeles. And they needed a cybersecurity expert. You know, the FDIC and the regulators are very concerned about security in the banking industry. And what we're seeing is that a lot of boards of directors don't really have the cybersecurity expertise they need. And so they reached out to me to see if I could help them. And that's been a very interesting part of my career. So it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you. We're really excited for that insight as well from the board perspective, as well as in the trenches in the day-to-day. And last, but certainly not least, Aaron.
Thank you, Lisa, for having me today. My name is Aaron Wyant. I'm the president of Dispatch Tech. I've been working on computers since 1987, since I was a little teenager. Started Dispatch Tech in 2008. With Dispatch Tech is a local cybersecurity and managed service provider. We're located right here in San Diego, and we help protect companies all over the U.S. from cybersecurity threats. Our main clients are DoD contractors. We not only help them with their cyber, but we also help them with the CMMC compliance, which is a cybersecurity maturity model certification, and we help them get certified. And our business has grown in the last, I would say, doubled over last year with all the cyber threats.
It's amazing. Well, let's kick off this discussion with the current threat landscape. Last year, we saw evolving sophistication in cyber attacks, from AI-driven social engineering to ransomware as a service. Amy, what is the FBI seeing as the key threats impacting our region that all organizations should have on their radar?
Okay, so I think I'll start obviously with ransomware attacks. Ransomware attacks continue to be a significant threat globally. In 2023, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center reported a loss of over $59 million across over 2,800 complaints. That number is believed to be very low. The actual losses associated are considered to be much higher. It's crucial for organizations to have robust backup and recovery mechanisms in place, and we ask that the FBI be part of your incident recovery plans. Another thing I'd like to mention are social engineering attacks and business email compromise. The use of AI in the social engineering and business email compromise has made our job as law enforcement officers very difficult, because with spear phishing emails or text messages or phone calls, when we used to be able to tell that there wasn't a great understanding of the language, now with the AI models, it's really hard to tell the difference between a legitimate or illegitimate call, text, email. Phishing emails, text messages, and phone calls are frequently used to trick employees or individuals into giving over sensitive information. In 2023 in San Diego, there are approximately 170 reports totaling $12.3 million. Nationwide, those numbers jumped to 34,000 reports and $2.9 billion in losses. So not chump change. We're seeing supply chain attacks, which target the supply chain to compromise systems indirectly. This can involve infiltrating third-party vendors and exploiting vulnerabilities. We're also seeing threats to critical infrastructure, specifically water, energy, and transportation systems. Cyber attacks on these sectors could have severe consequences, making it essential for organizations in these industries to prioritize cybersecurity measures. FBI Director Christopher Wray recently discussed the PRC state-sponsored activity in which small home and office routers were infected with botnet malware, and subsequently they were used to obfuscate activity targeting critical infrastructure. So we see this is a big problem. Mm-hmm. Additionally, insider threats continue to be an issue. Malicious or unintentional actions by employees or insiders can pose a significant threat. Organizations should implement measures to monitor and mitigate these threats, including unauthorized access and data exfiltration. And lastly, artificial intelligence seems to have exploded onto the scene with all the publicly available AI tools like ChatGPT, Bard, and Copilot. It's significantly lowered the bar for entry into cybercrime. We're seeing AI used, as I mentioned, to craft phishing emails, which are harder to recognize as illegitimate. We're also seeing data poisoning, input manipulation, and model stealing attacks, all activities designed to disrupt or upset AI's function. There are privacy issues and intellectual property issues, as well as third-party AI. Whether you like it or not, your information is now part of the information ecosystem. And to get specific information about threats in the San Diego area, we encourage you to engage with local law enforcement, cybersecurity information sharing forums like InfraGard, and collaborate with relevant cybersecurity partners. Staying informed about the latest threats and implementing proactive cybersecurity measures is crucial for organizations to enhance their resilience against the evolving cyber threats.
Absolutely. And I think kind of on that topic, you kind of nailed it from the infrastructure perspective. The FBI Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, led by my cyber sister, Jen Easterly, and the Environmental Protection Agency recently released an incident response guide for water and wastewater sector because of the uptick in attacks on this critical infrastructure and the cascading effects really on public health. Francisco, what are some of those lessons learned and steps that all businesses can take to prepare for the when, no longer the if?
Well, as Amy mentioned, these threats are real to organizations. And so we need to take these cybersecurity threats seriously. And it goes beyond IT, cyber, and IoT staff. We really need to ask ourselves as an organization, what is our risk tolerance? What is our mindset? Are we prepared when a breach happens? How can we limit the threats, not if, but when they hit our organizations? And do we fully understand how to protect our infrastructure and our resources? And what resources are available out there to assist us? Many organizations, especially in this sector, they don't have the resources to handle and prepare for cyber resiliency. So this document, Incident Response Guide, Water and Wastewater Sector, it's an invaluable resource on how we can put a plan of action together and what is involved, even if we don't have the experience in this space. And it breaks it down into 4 steps, which are very helpful. The first one, preparation. The second, detection and analysis. The third, containment, eradication, and recovery. And the fourth one, post-incident activity. Sometimes we forget about that last step. It's always important to find the lessons learned when a security threat reaches us. And we need to remember we're not alone. There is resources available. There's partnerships available to assist us, as mentioned, CISA, FBI, EPA, as well as others.
Fabulous. Yes. We have one of our board members for many years is the prior CISO for the port, who actually is the one that thwarted the attack. And he said the most critical part of that actual incident that was so helpful going forward was the post discussions, the ideas on how we can do this better next time, things we've learned, and then not just keeping that internal to an organization, but sharing it with the community that you're working with your partners, your vendors, your customers. So that was fabulous advice, Francisco. Well, as we've kind of hinted, San Diego's defense industry here represents about 1/4 of our regional economy, according to San Diego Military Advisory Council, or SDMAX, recently released Military Economic Impact Report. And these government contractors are now required to comply with increasingly stringent cybersecurity standards. So Aaron, what do you recommend for small businesses working to meet Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, or CMMC, as well as NIST 800 standards? And what can non-defense companies learn from these models that will likely matriculate into other industries in our region?
Yeah, no, perfect. And like Francisco and Amy both said, these threats are real. These threats are coming now, and there's a reason why the government put CMMC in place. Not only just to sound like it's mean because you got to spend all this money to protect yourself, but to protect yourself from AI and from all the ongoing things going on in the world right now. In a small business, if you're required to have CMMC compliance right now, even a large business, get started now. It can take up to 12 months to be fully certified and to pass all the compliance program. And if you wait till the last minute, it's going to get very expensive. On top of that, you're doing yourself a favor by protecting your company, your data, by putting in alerting and having only access to people that need access to certain data, and having encryption in place. So if a hacker, gets your computer, if someone gets your computer, that data is encrypted, so it's useless to them. Have an application whitelisting program in place. This is going to be really useful on when a hacker gets in, they got to run a program on your system. And well, if you got application whitelisting, you can have someone analyzing the logs, see what's being denied, making sure your system's fully protected, and following the CMMC guidelines really, really helps if you follow it truly and successfully. And what was the second part of the question again, Lisa?
So how can other industries, kind of prepare and learn from what's happening from the defense side, as these standards will likely start to matriculate into industries beyond just defense and those working with the government?
No, perfect. And if you're a small company, because we go in these companies all the time and they'll have antivirus. That's it. Well, we have antivirus. I told someone yesterday I was in there, this was a financial firm, and they do taxes, and they had just AV. And I'm like, that's 1990 stuff. That's not going to protect you today. All that's going to do is just kind of maybe help you a tiny bit, but it's not, the hackers are way above that now. You need all kinds of stuff. You need to follow a security program, whether it's CMMC, whether it's HIPAA or whether it be for credit cards, for what is it? PCI compliance, some kind of compliance program. You want to have a compliance program in place so that not only does it give you a guideline for your business to follow, but it makes it easier to implement with your employees. Because some employees, they don't like change. They don't like having to change their password. They don't like to have unique passwords. They don't like a lot of things. And if you have, hey, this is what we're following, this is what we're doing, they're going to do it and stick to it a lot easier than just telling them to do something.
Absolutely. And I think, we've seen also just planning, training is very helpful. And also we've had a lot of discussions recently about the changing insurance markets and the guidelines in order to be able to get your insurance or get your insurance renewal is also a helpful tool for small businesses because it really is a checklist in terms of the system requirements, the security requirements, training requirements, admin rights, and so forth. And so in addition to Aaron's comments, also a basic cybersecurity insurance checklist is very helpful to folks that are getting started. So
yeah, insurance is great too, by the way, because those insurance, if you want to make sure you follow those too. If you skip something, you give them a reason to not have to pay you. So make sure you really follow it if you do get insurance. And it's
exactly.
want to have good insurance.
Well, I know cost is often cited as one of the biggest cybersecurity hurdles for small to medium-sized businesses. Tom, Verimatrix provides security solutions that protect content, apps, AI, websites, and devices across industries from cyber threats. How has baking cybersecurity into your clients' products and services actually helped with their bottom lines?
Yeah. Look, this is one of the questions I get as a board member and then as a cybersecurity professional is, look, how do we justify the spend in cybersecurity? And when you think about like, what are we really trying to accomplish in cybersecurity? What are we doing? Well, we're mitigating risk. And what is risk really? Well, risk is the potential for future loss. So this is kind of the problem we get into with cybersecurity. We were just talking about insurance. I mean, we are making an investment in tools to prevent future loss. So I would encourage all of you out there to think about like the types of loss you might experience in your business. So for example, Amy mentioned ransomware. I think about if your business was impacted by ransomware, and let's say you were down for a week, what would that do to your revenue? Right? Think about the productivity of your employees. So how much revenue, how many days could you be down? How much could you afford to lose? So compare that to the amount of money you might spend in a new cybersecurity tool, and you can calculate the ROI of that very easily. In addition to productivity, I'd like you to think about like the reputation damage your business might suffer. Right. So, if you're a financial institution and you're on the front page of the newspaper for having a breach, would you lose depositors? Like, can you afford to have your reputation damaged? And you can actually quantify that. There's a method called FAIR, which is the Factor Analysis for Information Risk. I highly recommend it. It's an open framework that you can go find on the internet. It provides a framework for thinking about risk and the investments of your cybersecurity. Think about fines and judgments that might be against you and what that might cost you. So look, I think when you think about the cost of cybersecurity, think about the potential future downside that you might incur to your business. Now, just very quickly here at Verimatrix, we serve banks. Banks are under attack by mobile malware, where what's happening is they're tricking customers into downloading malware onto their Android phones in particular, that then allows the attacker to get your credentials to your bank. Well, then what happens? The attacker gets in, they start accessing your bank account with your credentials, and then they start transferring money out. Well, guess who eats that? The bank eats it, right? The bank will go then make the customer whole. Well, deposits are the lifebloods of banks, right? So the bank then needs to make an investment in how they protect their consumers' mobile applications for banking in order to prevent, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in loss. So look, I just encourage you to have a formal framework for the way you think about the way you mitigate loss in the future.
Fabulous. Well, and I think, we're kind of hitting on cybersecurity is not all doom and gloom. The good news is as threats are evolving, so are the resources and the tools available to increase cybersecurity awareness and preparedness. Amy, can you share some of the resources the FBI and government partners like CISA offer locally?
Sure. From the FBI.gov webpage, if you navigate to investigations and cybercrime, there's a lot of information available about cybercrime investigations, how to report cybercrime, and resources for individuals and businesses. Additionally, the Internet Crime Complaint Center, found at ic3.gov, is a place where you can find consumer and industry alerts. You can read up on common scams. You can also report if you're a victim of a business email compromise, ransomware, elder fraud, or other types of cybercrime. So there's a lot of information available there. You can also access the annual reports that talk about, the number of complaints and the amount of loss per year. So you can see how it's jumping up every year. It's a little scary, actually, but I encourage you to go check it out. InfraGard, found at infragard.org, is a great place to engage in a partnership between the FBI and private sector partners for the protection of U.S. Critical infrastructure. And that's done through information sharing and intelligence on cyber threats. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, is CISA.gov. It's a key government agency focused on cybersecurity and infrastructure protection. It was founded in 2018 when it was it made into its own agency under the Department of Homeland Security. And from their website, you can access a resource hub, which is a collection of guides and best practices and tools covering a wide range of cybersecurity topics. There's a library of publications offering cybersecurity tips for individuals, businesses, and organizations. You can also access threat insights, analysis, and recommendations on enhancing your cybersecurity posture. These resources cover a broad spectrum of cybersecurity topics, and they're valuable for individuals, businesses, and organizations looking to enhance their cybersecurity posture. And regularly checking these sources for updates and incorporating recommendations can contribute to a more resilient cybersecurity environment. And then the last thing I'd like to say is, if you are a victim of a cyber incident, please reach out to your local FBI office. Our office has 2 squads that are dedicated to for-profit or financial cybercrime, as well as nation-state crime. And the telephone number for our office is 858-320-1800. Please reach out to us if you or your organization are a victim of cybercrime.
Awesome. Yes, the FBI agents here truly do wear capes, and they're fabulous to work with. They're also incredibly confidential, and they work with you based on your business needs. So we highly recommend creating a relationship there, left of boom or left of click. Another resource too that we can mention that we've had on the program before, the San Diego Regional Cyber Lab, which is DHS funded and managed by the city of San Diego and helped develop in partnership with CCOE, also offers small businesses, local government agencies, school districts, as well as regional infrastructure, with a kind of one-stop shop and a collaborative in terms of tools, resources, as well as, again, an opportunity to meet with other folks in similar roles. So highly recommend as well to check them out. Well, Francisco, water is so critical to public health, to business, and really all other regional infrastructure. So let's turn the tables a bit. What cyber challenges do you see on the horizon for your sector, and how can industry help?
Well, as a whole, government agencies, especially smaller ones, we're at a disadvantage when we're targeted by nation states. And with the use of AI, cyber hacking is becoming easier. Nation states are already starting to use it to help improve their processes and to help streamline these attacks on organizations. And then we also have the shortage of skilled cyber staff, ones that understand IoT, SCADA environments as well. And as our water buffaloes retire, what is our succession planning? How are we bringing in the next generation to help protect and secure our water supply? And then there's also funding, having the appropriate funding to enable cyber resiliency. We need to open our minds and say, we can rely on third parties to help augment our staff or services augmentation. And this is how we can kind of bridge that gap as we fight these cybersecurity challenges. And then within the industry, we definitely need more collaboration, especially in the water and critical infrastructure space. We need to work together more closely, locally and nationally. And we don't need to be afraid to reach out and accept external resources. As mentioned, the FBI is ready to help us, CISA, EPA, and we also have CCOE here locally to help provide support to local businesses in San Diego. And then as AI is on the horizon as a risk, we also need to harness its power within the cybersecurity space. It can help us analyze cybersecurity threats, which will accelerate our threat detection, response time, and protection to our organization.
Well, that was a perfect transition, Francisco, because we really can't talk of cyber trends without AI these days. A powerful tool for both the good guys and the threat actors. Tom, can you speak to how the rapid sophistication and accessibility of AI can help under-resourced organizations? And then kind of on the flip side, what keeps you up at night as these technologies evolve and proliferate with the bad actors?
Sure. Yeah, look, AI is obviously the hot buzzword these days. To demystify it, look, at the end of the day, it's just a tool, right? It's a technology tool that can be used for good and for bad. And we've heard a lot about how it's being used for bad here today. Look, now, as it relates to using AI to solve, detect, and respond to cyber threats, it's allowing us to, one, detect threats we hadn't seen before, right? So, we want to be able to, like, the threat landscape is evolving, right? We know that like signature-based old legacy antivirus doesn't really protect you anymore, right? So what you want to look for as you go and look at tools you might adopt to help you protect you is, hey, does it use AI to help you detect threats we haven't seen before? That's one. The second part is, if you're an under-resourced organization, you don't have a lot of cybersecurity resources, how does the tool allow you to speed up your detection and response, right? So using AI so that we can automate things that used to be manual, we can put more higher fidelity alerts in front of our cyber defense professionals so they can act faster. Okay, so those are the advantages of AI, finding things that we didn't know before and speeding up our response, okay? Now, the same applies to the bad guys, and Amy touched on this, right? That you're seeing, voice fraud, you're seeing phishing attacks, right? That are more automated. Like, so just as it's a productivity tool for us, it's a productivity tool for the bad guys, right? And they're obviously taking advantage of that. And at the end of the day, look, we're not exactly going to be able to stop them, but what we have to do is we got to mitigate it. So what should you do as a company? Well, look, you have to have a multi-layered defense. Aaron touched on this, right? He's got a business that only has antivirus. Okay, that's not going to cut it anymore, right? Look, you have to have the right tools in place, a number of controls across your environment, from your network to your endpoints, to your users. And then you have to have the appropriate policies in place. So if you're a financial institution and you're doing a lot of wire transfers, well, like, who are all the people who have to approve that wire transfer before it goes out? So you got to attack this problem not with just technology, but with training your people and then having the appropriate policies and procedures inside your company to mitigate these threats.
Fabulous advice. And I think it always comes back to, again, your people are unfortunately your weakest link, but they are also your greatest defense if trained properly. Well, I think, we're kind of coming to the end of our discussion, and, CCOE and EDC's recent economic impact study actually marks the 10-year anniversary of the research that launched us here at CCOE. And in that time, the region's cybersecurity industry has grown from 100 to 1,000 cyber firms, with 166% increase in regional economic impact. We've seen advances in new technologies like AI, as we've been discussing, and we've grown the cyber workforce now across industries. We actually have more cyber professionals outside of the traditional cybersecurity product and services firms than we do in the broader ecosystem. So, Aaron, what do you see for the next decade for San Diego cyber industry, including key challenges and opportunities?
Yeah, I see, for the next 10 years, you see companies that aren't following a program going to be having some big issues. 80% of companies get hacked. It's a pretty high number. And if you don't have the right stuff in place, you're going to get, your company is going to have some big problems. AI is just making it so much easier for the hackers to get in. They don't even have to be that smart. Like you guys were saying earlier, with AI, it's just advancing. It's a great tool for some things, but it's also can be a really bad tool for the bad guys too. So you got to be able to make sure you have the right protections in place, because the bad guys are advancing very quickly and you want to stay one step ahead of them for sure. For growth, I see, a lot of job opportunities for sure. We work with you guys on bringing in, interns and training them and helping them, find quality jobs. And, it's a fun field, but, you never want to see a company get hacked. That's for sure. And, when I go into a company and they have just poor protection, I just want to cry. I go, how many of these people are out there have this bad protection? That's, they don't understand how, they don't, you talk to them, they don't know IT stuff. It goes over their head. So, but they just got to understand you need it. You need this protection.
Absolutely. And Dispatch Tech was actually one of the first movers in the Cyber Hire program, which is a partnership in the region with the San Diego Workforce Partnership, EDC, CCOE, and then all of the academic providers to be able to really seed and diversify the talent pipeline and reach underserved populations so that they can actually get a cyber education while potentially going to school, working, and managing daily life. So thank you so much to Aaron and Dispatch Tech for bringing on many of those cyber hires.
No, thank you guys. You've been great.
Awesome. Well, great discussion. We're just about out of time. So I'd love to get a final piece of advice from each of you for San Diego businesses to help navigate cyber threats as well as available resources. So Francisco, why don't we start with you?
Well, we're in this journey together, so we need to collaborate, train, use external resources and technology to help in this cyber fight. And don't be afraid of new technology, but harness its benefits. I appreciate this opportunity to be part of this panel today. Thank you.
Awesome. Let's go to you, Tom, next.
Yeah, just I encourage all of you to think about your cybersecurity investments in the terms of reducing risk, right? Think of it in business terms. We talk a lot about technology and cybersecurity, but look, at the end of the day, what it's all about is preventing future loss to your business and ensuring that you're productive, healthy, that your business is ongoing. That's the way I encourage you to think about it going forward.
Awesome. Aaron.
Protect, protect, protect. Start a compliance program if you don't have one. And if you are required to get one, get started on it right away.
Awesome. And Amy, we'll have you take us home today.
Okay, great. Well, I would just say that San Diego is a very target-rich environment with the presence of defense and military sector, technology and research institutions, critical infrastructure, healthcare and biotech, tourism and hospitality, small and medium-sized enterprises, which can be targeted based on the fact that they don't always have the resources to devote to cybersecurity. And I would just say, never stop learning. Read up on FBI and CISA joint advisories. Make sure that you're constantly educating yourself and updating your system requirements. Make sure that you're patching, make sure that you're training your employees. I think that was a really important point that Tom made. That costs much less than some of the other things, but it is a great defense. So thank you so much for having me here today. And I look forward to working with you again in the future.
Oh, this has been such a great panel. Many thanks, Francisco, Amy, Tom, and Aaron, for this insightful discussion. We invite businesses and job seekers to visit CCOE's website at sdccoe.org, as well as the FBI and CISA, as well as a lot of the different resources we spoke about today. We thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for San Diego Business Journal's next Cyber Trends panel in May. Thanks, everybody.